Hey Pepin,
Yo, yo.
I've been thinking a lot about like art and other fancy things,
Really? Like fan art or
like all kinds of art, from fan art all the way up to like Picasso and other fine artists that I definitely know the names of.
really? Like what do you think?
I think we need to talk. Welcome back. So glad you could join us yet again. I'm sitting here in a brand new location. It is still Pepin's room, but it is in a new building. We have a high tech studio here, meaning everything's exactly the same except the physical location we're in, but it is a lot roomier. And of course, we do have the homeowner himself, Nathan. How are you doing, Pepin?
Doing pretty I'm doing pretty well, but yeah, it's a different place. It's a little difficult to get used to, but I'm here.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm glad you could be here with us today in your own room. We do have a special guest on today, brand new special guest. First episode, unless we play these out of order. Chelsea, how are you doing, Chelsea?
I'm doing great, Steven. How you doing?
Not too bad. I'm definitely glad we could all get together. Um, you know, the topic we've chosen here today is about art. And I know that your life has a lot to do with the art world. Is that accurate to say, Chelsea?
That is extremely accurate. I've been doing art, I think, since I was about 6 years old.
Okay. That's significantly longer than me since I don't have any artistic bones in my body. What about you, Nate? What's your qualifications?
So I've been in and out of art for a while. I guess you could say I'm still doing art with my guitar and music and stuff. I've done drawing, I've done animation, I've done lots of different stuff. With drawing, I never got like super great with it, but yeah, pretty decent, I think.
Well, I think that's a valid statement. I think that art comes in all different forms. Art, more or less, is a way to express yourself rather than like just painting or just drawing. It's anything that you choose to do. I mean, this is art too. This is vocal. It's really interesting.
So when you say that art is a way to express yourself, does that imperatively mean that there has to be a direction with the art? You have to be having a statement of some sort?
I don't think that's always related. I I think sometimes you kind of find yourself through the expression, whether it's dancing or drawing or painting or doing a podcast or I don't know, making music. You don't start out always in, even if you do start out, let's say, with like a specific purpose, more often than not, that's going to change by the end.
Now, to be really annoying, what
hmm
do you mean by expression?
The act of doing. So expression would be, let's say, dancing, that's an expression. Painting is an expression. So it's an action more than anything.
Right, but what would differentiate this between let's say someone who's at their job and doing like mechanical work?
hmm
How would that differ from art, or would you say that's artistic as well?
I think that can be. I think expression. Oh, that's interesting. Um, it's a way of kind of getting what's inside out.
So it's part of the person's being put into the piece.
Yeah, taking like the reality of who you are as a person, as a human being, as your soul or whatnot, and pushing that out to accurately depict what that means to you.
I would definitely be on a similar boat there, saying that in order for something to lean more towards being artistic versus being, just work or something like that, although they have many places they can cross, it needs to have an emotional aspect to it as well as a personal aspect, is like a sort of a reflection of your not necessarily yourself, but your views and your perspective.
I agree with that fully.
So to go with like an example in my head, so imagine someone who's making knives and swords, right? So and they're at some factory, right? And they're doing it according to some kind of blueprint, right? So they're doing the same sword over and over and over again. Is that really artistic? Are they really imprinting themselves onto that?
Does it fulfill them?
Well, So this gets into another question,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think we could probably go there in a minute. What makes art? Society, or is it the person themselves? How is it perceived?
I feel like part of what you're getting at is, does there need to be a creative aspect to it, something that's being generated that doesn't already exist?
Right. Because someone is just making something, over and over again, repetitive, and it's not really something they want to make, or maybe it's not really into it, is one thing. But let's imagine the swordsmith who's doing his own kind of smithing and creating his own works. Well, that's definitely artistic.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you could say the creator of the initial sword was artistic, but the people who were making it maybe aren't. So let's just propose a little like hypothesis here, a little like a little thinking challenge. So imagine that someone is really gifted with, kind of moving their hand in certain ways, and they can actually paint beautiful, beautiful paintings, but they're essentially just a robot.
Mm-hmm.
And you can give them a picture, and they'll paint a beautiful painting, but they're not really doing anything creative. There's, just a robot essentially. Are they being artistic in that kind of scenario?
I'm not sure. I feel like it's artistic expression is more of an organic thing. And I might be shooting myself in the foot saying that too, because so the difference between that, I would say that's more commercial art. That's more of a formula. And something I've always struggled with in my art is part of my family really wants me to be a commercial artist. They want me to create the stuff you find at gift shops so that I can make money. And I've never been into that. I've never wanted to do it, and I've never had the words to express why I don't want that. Um, but in the end, I want to create the things that I feel and the things that I feel like need to be said visually and not just recreating the same old and same old again.
My hypothesis of Chelsea is that she wants to create things that inspire people to do, not to buy. You don't want to inspire somebody to buy that thing that your art is a part of. You want to inspire people to take action towards something that that art might be portraying, or to very least provoke thoughts that might change their views, or at very least make them question their own perspective.
That's completely true. I want to be able to get to a spot where I can create art that creates a conversation, where people can look at it and more so than just be like, wow, that's a great painting. I wonder how much it costs. I want them to look at it and be like, oh, this inspires me to talk about this with you, with like my neighbors, with my brothers, with my sisters, with a stranger I find on the street, and then take that conversation and put it into action.
Now, what
And
if that conversation is, I wonder how much that costs? So you're inspiring that homeless guy on the street to wonder.
at least I'm causing someone to think something.
So you want to force thoughts into people's mind. You want to artistically rape them.
I would not go that far.
Or you wouldn't put it in those terms.
That is exactly
But
true.
but of course I would.
So is commercial art kind of more aesthetic or just kind of visually pleasing? Like I'm not quite sure what the difference is there.
Okay, so imagine yourself at a Land's End. That's for anyone who doesn't know, that is on the coast of Maine. It's where the end of the land is technically. There's a big,
So
basically,
a shore?
yes, a shore, but it's marketed to you like it's the Land's End. And
Are you
it's
sure about this?
That's such an artistic way to phrase it.
what?
Land's End.
Oh, yeah, it's
it's
beautiful.
like it's the shore.
The
or it's-
funniest part is there's an island right there, too.
and there's its beginning.
But right next to it, everyone's like, go to Land's End on Bailey's Island. And you get there, and it's just a gift shop filled with t-shirts and old slogans and used art and things that you've seen 1,000 times before, but you're still gonna buy for your aunt who lives in Wisconsin so that she has a taste of Maine. It's stuff that doesn't mean anything and it's useless, but it's pretty and someone did it and they had some kind of purpose behind it, but it feels empty to me because I look at it and I only see that, they did this to produce it to get money to whatever, whatever, and go on. And it makes me sick in general, but I just have really strong opinions, I guess, about that.
Well, I would push back against that because I wouldn't say it's useless because people buy that kind of stuff because they want to show other people, hey, I've been here or I've been there. So I'm thinking about going to Spain, for instance. And when I go to Spain, I'm definitely gonna buy some cheap, shitty kind of tourist art. and I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna show it off because hey, I went to Spain. This is what I want to show to people. I want to show people that I went to Spain. I liked it, and I brought some of the culture back.
Is this so that you can land babes?
Yeah,
Because if
yeah.
you already have them in your room to show them the shitty culture art, I think you've already done your job. Why do you need this little trinket?
Well, honestly, I'm gonna like buy a giant Spanish flag, and I'm gonna make it into a cape and just wear it around.
Oh my god, you should do that.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna have like a little Spanish accent going on.
You're gonna really appropriate the culture, is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Wear it
so,
around my neck.
so your point is that there is an intrinsic value to even these little things that might not have as much artistic value. There is still a value to them. But I think Chelsea's point was more along artistic value versus, an intrinsic value at all.
But even a point to you is, so I did the same thing. I was in Bali, and I was there for like a month and a half, split up between 2 times, and I could walk around, and it was this really great harmony of pop art and like old world things. So you would walk into this old monk, like not walk, you'd walk to this old monastery, but it was built in rock in the ocean, and you can only access it during low tide, and then you get out there and you meditate until low tide comes again. And so you're at this beautiful place, and then there are people who are selling like paintings of Michael Jackson on the sidelines. And a part of yeah, and so part of me is like, oh, this is so weird. Like, yeah, it's local art, but I'm like, oh, gross, it's so westernized. But then you travel into the back roads, and you travel along these dirt roads, and you see someone who has a garage full of paintings they've worked on their entire life that are original and beautiful, and you could purchase that. Like, wouldn't you rather purchase something like that instead of going the easy route and going to like some gift shop, going to the streets and buy art from someone else and like support that one person who has that one dream, who has that real talent?
So did you not like this Michael Jackson painting because you're a hater for Michael Jackson, or because you didn't feel that that really came from their heart? Instead, they were just trying to sell you something.
I felt that they were trying to sell me something that I was supposed to like. Instead of in they're almost even I felt like they're also being sold out because they have all these Westerners coming in and to their society, and that's what they buy because we're taught to buy that kind of stuff. And but um I felt like it was more authentic for someone who's in their garage painting. Like, that's the person I'd rather support with my money. Not that I don't want to support these people, but um, I didn't feel like it was a good use of the time or the art. I felt like it was kind of just put there.
You sound like a snooty hipster.
I do sound like a snooty hipster.
All the hate I can spew is just happening right now all at once.
And it's hard. I know, and I do sound like an angry person. I'm definitely not angry. I am.
You sound furious right now. I've never had a guest this mad at me. But
This is something I don't know. I mean, what if this person who made this Michael Jackson painting was a super serious Michael Jackson fan?
Mhm.
I mean, you look at it and you say, this has no artistic integrity. This person is just doing it to make money. This person just wants to profit. What, you don't know his intention. You can say it because perhaps, there's a lot of other art like that, but perhaps he's just a really big fan.
He could be, but the fact that it's the same painting sold 1,000 different times from 1,000 different vendors tells me otherwise.
So
And it's
similar.
not just Michael Jackson. Like, that's not even my problem. I'm not even angry about it. But
when I was in New Orleans, I saw a similar thing where people were painting like pop culture people. And you would see the same thing repeated in a lot of different places. And although they all had artistic talent to them, in the technique, it was the heart behind it that was kind of lost, in that you didn't it seemed more like they were trying to cash in. It was about the context more, that you drew those assumptions, and whether they were true or not is irrelevant at that point.
So it's not so much that one person, doing Michael Jackson paintings. It's rather that everyone's doing it.
exactly.
Just like point dancing.
God, don't even get me started on point dancing.
No, that's exactly it. It's not that I'm not mad at this one person for painting Michael Jackson. I'm frustrated that I'm
throw your
frustrated with the
face into the
concept in general.
Mm.
Now, this gets to a kind of weird question here. So, let's imagine that guy who's painting stuff in his his garage, and you look at it and you say that's beautiful, but you have a good artistic sense, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Whereas you probably guess most people don't,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you might be able to see that guy in his painting and say that's pretty good, that looks amazing, but I might look at it and say that's a painting.
No, that's completely that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, coming from your point of view, um, when you go to Spain, what's your like? You want to buy like if you were to see someone on the side of the road painting, would you want to buy his art or would you want to buy a flag from the gift shop?
I think that if you were to buy something completely original when in Spain, that would be so much more impressive than if you buy something cheap from the gift shop.
Well, the only reason why I'd buy something original is that when someone asks, "Oh, that's an interesting painting right there on the wall," I'm like, "Yeah, I got it from this local vendor in Spain."
Yeah, it's a talking point.
Blah blah blah. You only use it to expand upon it, right? You don't, you know.
Maybe it depends, and that's also on us. Like, what's our idea behind buying it? My idea, but mine personally would be like, oh, I love this person's work. I want to support his idea.
Well, isn't something like that getting right back to the point that Chelsea was making in the first place, in that the only point of it is to expand upon it, being it starts a conversation. If you buy a shot glass that says Spain on it, there's not much of a conversation to be had there. It's just, hey, look at this shot glass, or it's just sitting up on your shelf or something. But if you have some art that somebody's never seen before, they may be like, wow, that little thing right there is pretty cool. Where'd you get that? And then all of a sudden you have a dialogue, and then you can talk about your experience that they may not have ever had. But everybody's bought a shitty shot glass before.
So something you were talking about earlier, Chelsea, is how the school you're going to, you're going to a fancy art school soon. It has vaginas and penises everywhere.
Yeah.
What is with that?
I'm not entirely sure. I have heard tell about so it's called Maine College of Art, or Mecca for short, and it's in Portland, Maine, and it's a very progressive city in general. And something I was telling you earlier was around the city of Portland, they have this graffiti artist, or I guess street artist, and he or she goes around and paints pictures of vaginas everywhere with the word clit.
Right now, just so you all know, she's making a hand vagina. I just thought that was really relevant.
Can you fuck a hand vagina?
Yes. So, how? I'm done. Okay, go ahead. That was the end of my point.
So what do you think is like the meaning behind this? Is this to get a reaction out of people? I mean, it's probably some kind of political statement.
Oh, of course. It's I mean, I haven't asked the artist. I don't know the artist, so I can only speculate. But from what I've seen it be used for, it's an empowerment thing. People, as much as they want to reduce women to our body parts, no one really wants to see your vagina. Like, they want to see titties and they want to see your ass everywhere in their marketing campaigns, but no one's like specifically photographing your vagina unless it's for like Reddit Girls Gone Wild or something. And
you know of that?
Yes, I do.
As you're saying.
And so it's a part of an empowerment, like, putting in the face, like, hey, like, you put your phallic, penises everywhere. And that's kind of like a new, not even new, just it's everywhere all the time.
Is that a comment on Nathan's decorating? Because I do see a lot of dicks all over this wall.
I think you need less penises.
They might have been there
vaginas.
before you got here. I don't know, though.
Yeah.
Or were they ones that you procured just for this specific room?
I really haven't kept track of which ones I've made, which ones were there before.
Which ones were given to you?
Yeah, you take what you can get.
A gifted dick is a good dick.
Yeah. Now, do you think that this empowerment that they are getting is, like, because vaginas are kind of, I guess, everywhere, right? Let's say everyone starts doing the vaginas. Let's imagine, like, people just keep doing it and keep doing it. Does it kind of lose its meaning, like, with the Michael Jackson painting?
And the commercial art?
Yeah, well, not even commercial, just, like, it starts getting used everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I won't know until that happens. Has it lost its meaning when people draw dicks everywhere?
No, it's still hilarious.
Yeah. So, I think it's the same sense of, like, I don't think people drawing vaginas with the word clit on it's gonna get old.
Did they just not draw clit? They just write the word clit, and they're
I
like,
think-
that's what it looks like?
No, they definitely draw it, and I think someone has, like, the tag clit.
Oh, that's like their name.
Mm-hmm.
That's their art name.
Mm-hmm. Or
What's that?
their
A
street.
pseudonym?
It's a tag.
Oh, whoa, whoa.
What do you think the thing is behind people kind of like drawing these vaginas and penises? I mean, why is that so? I know like we're
Like, why in general are we obsessed with like phallic? And I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's been around forever, hasn't it?
Yes.
like all I can think of is like we're kind of born to fuck, right? So
Well, yeah, and I think as a human society, we're born to procreate. Like that's our mindset. That's why our we're considered most beautiful when we're most fertile, which is when, we're youngest between the ages of whatever 15 to 40. After you hit that line, no one's you're considered over the hill. You're considered ugly now. But that's because you can't produce babies anymore. And it's been exacerbated by society.
to add on to that point, apparently when a woman is in her when a woman is menstruating, that's the only time she can get pregnant during like the 30 days, whatever it is.
You mean ovulating?
When a woman's ovulating, like it's only like 2 or 3 days within the 30 or 40, 30, 35 days she's having her period.
24 days.
24, is it 24 days?
Yeah, it's
Oh, God,
24
this is how
day
little I
cycle.
know.
24 to 28 days.
24 to 28. So when she's ovulating within that range, her complexion clears up, her mood gets brighter, she gets more social, and all these different things. And these things are more attractive. They make her more attractive, so she gets laid or more.
So there's this really, really interesting study that happened a while ago, and I've been obsessed with it. And this is actually something that I experimented with in my like working as a customer service representative. So they did this study between, I don't know, they grabbed a bunch of females, and when I describe this study to my female friends, they get really angry, but I think it's an interesting study. So they took a bunch of females at different times of the month, and they had them count 1, 2, 3, all the way to 10. And that's it. And then they would play these recordings to men, and they'd have the men rate them on a scale of like one, like sexy to like really, really sexy to like not sexy at all. And during different times of the month when these women are ovulating, their voice drop, our voice box, larynx, thank you, gets lower, and so like that's more sultry, quote unquote. So the men thought they were more sexier and more attractive during their ovulation period because their voices were lower. That was without knowing, and the men and the people behind the project knew it, and they put the results on, but then also the complexion and all that. And so I used to play around when I was a customer service, and like men would hit on me and like give me their numbers and do that whole thing that they would do. And I realized it was all around like that time of the month, like my ovulation cycle. And when I realized it, I told my friend about it, and I was like, wait till next month. And it's really and it was really funny for something to like be self-aware of and to watch it happen. And
So if you get a whole bunch of guys giving you numbers, do you like make a database and then sell this information to marketing firms? Because that would be genius.
I don't.
It's something Steve could really use.
I would sell that. You can sell it for like 5 cents a name.
What am I selling these guys' numbers?
You're just selling their numbers and their names, and then you write down, you jot down once they leave their approximate age, their how much money they make, whatever you can,
because I get all of that information in a 5-second encounter.
You can figure out every single aspect of a person's life by having them hit on you pretty quick, or at very least what they want you to think about them, and then you can sell that information and you can become absolutely filthy rich, and that would be a genius entrepreneurial thing to take on there. That's a great project.
Well, I can't say that I'm that ambitious, but I'll let you know.
You could make it into an art.
So the school's called Mecca?
Mm-hmm.
How pretentious do you have to be to call your school Mecca?
So that's what I've been thinking about. Everybody's Mecca and then also meta. And I've been wanting to do some kind of piece about Mecca being meta. But I don't know how to. I haven't figured out the nuts and bolts yet.
I mean, Mecca has something to do with Islam, so that's kind of an interesting acronym.
Isn't Mecca in Islam, is it spelled 2 C's?
Maybe, but they've also. It's probably also written in, is it Sanskrit?
Mm-hmm.
Arabic. And Arabic, they don't spell things like I do.
It's a different language. So.
Yeah, they don't even put like vowels in with their writing.
They don't even use the alphabet.
They have an alphabet, but it's a very weird one, or very different
How
one.
dare they write their own language in a different alphabet than ours? This is America.
Yeah, we have to have everything our way.
We
America.
need at least vowels. I mean, vowels tell you like what to put in there. Now you have to figure it
In
out.
in English,
Yeah,
in other languages, probably not.
well,
Other languages, the entire idea of what you're saying can change based on your tone.
The manipulation of language to me is one of my favorite forms of art because it can take you from it can like any art can, but like words and language specifically can be used in such a way that it takes you from thinking one way and then completely changes your mind to another way, or it could do vice versa. And a lot of times you can communicate using language. Chelsea and I were talking about this before. You like, even if you don't speak the same language, you can use your language and still get across points to other people who don't speak that language, and you guys can understand each other. And like the biggest aspect of communication is finding out how to understand each other, not necessarily the words you use.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, communication is more about getting an idea across rather than a strict concept or paragraph or monologue. It's about trying to convey and accept each other's differences and communicate through that way.
Yeah, Steve, you've seen a lot of cartoons, right? A lot of those like old cartoons, like Mickey Mouse and silent stuff. It's not silent, but like it's Donald Duck.
Okay.
Like there's no real audio, no real voice acting in it, but you can still understand everything that's going on. Even if you had voice acting, you can still understand everything that's going on. If it was a different language, you could understand. How much of language is actually necessary? It's all just kind of like tone and kind of. I wouldn't say it's all tone, but a lot of it is, to be honest.
No, absolutely on a basic level. And if you're using it appropriately. But we put so much stress on the words that we use that each word you use, you could use a synonym to a certain word and completely change the whole meaning of what you're saying. So in that way, the words mean a lot more than the tone does if they're used precisely or they're completely misused.
I've been thinking a lot about this with English because there's a lot of certain variants between how we say things. Like, I only want you. I want you only. Like, it's the same idea getting across, right? But the word order makes it a little different.
It makes a whole different like connotation behind the words.
Mm. And it's a lot of little phrasings and even little subtleties. Like, you can say one thing one way and mean something totally different the other way. Like, fine, or fine.
I was just talking about this with the kid that I nanny, but we use the phrase like "I love you," and it was like "I love you, I love you, yeah, I love you," and it changes everything that you mean for those words. So yeah, it's super important.
I'm really interested to see how that comes across on the audio recording when we listen to this because I feel like your facial expressions and your body language play so much into the way you just said it that I might feel differently now by the three phrases you just used of the same words than when we actually re-listen to it and only have audio.
That's interesting. That's also a point is communicating what my experience with people who don't speak English. A lot of it is body gesture. It is like using my face and my mouth and my eyes and my body to tell them the story and to explain and come to a conclusion about what we're trying to talk about.
What is it about hand gesturing and things like that that really help kind of keep your train of thought moving forward or to get across the point, even when all you're doing is just you do a lot of strong movements and like straightening out your arm and putting it back. Nate, actually, you do that quite a bit too. I do a lot more of like rolling my hand in a circle or like opening and closing it type of thing. So is that? Do you think that's just a physical coping mechanism to help you get the words out, or do you think that that actually helps portray something to the person that you're speaking with?
I think with me especially, I am a very kind of active person, so I'm either totally in something or I'm not. And if I to get totally into something, I have to get my whole body into it, right? And for me to just kind of stand here like this, I'm very, constrained, and it's very difficult to just kind of talk like this. I can't kind of talk like this for when I do it like this. But if I'm kind of moving around like this, you can't see me on the audio, of course, but my thinking actually goes a lot better. The way through which I convey myself sounds a lot more natural, and in a way, it's kind of like a rhythm as well. I'm kind of giving the rhythm of my speech when I kind of do these little weird hand gestures.
I think some of the most interesting reading I've ever done is on body language itself and what it means, the way that you hold yourself. And the best example I can give is like I have one roommate and his body language is like chest out, like shoulders back. He's there and his presence is known in the room. And when he talks, his voice is loud and he takes over the room in a sense, not in like a bad way, but just in like he is there, and that's a part of like just your demeanor. I think it's a part of like how your brain works, and your body and the way that you move it is a way to express like who you are. And so someone who's always using very powerful motion, no.
Chelsea, you're the most powerful one here,
Thank
based
you.
off of your body motions
And apparently
alone.
that's what I want you to think. I want you to know that I am very in charge with my body language.
This reminded me of a time when I was at the gym, and I was in the sauna, and it was kind of weird because it's kind of standing there, hands on my knees, and then this kind of big, kind of bulky guy came in, and he was very hairy, kind of very masculine looking, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna change anything for him, I'm just gonna stay this way. And then about 5 minutes later, I see my hands kind of in the fig leaf position, which is, for people who don't know, it's kind of like hands kind of crossed over your crotch, and this is a submissive pose. And I'm like, shit, when did I start doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was reacting to this guy, kind of show him I wasn't a threat, I'm submissive to him.
Because he was such a big imposing force in your mind.
Mm.
Whereas, like, maybe if you talked to him, he could have been, like, really cuddly, like, nice, and, like, oh,
He was
man.
probably crying. Yeah, that's why he went into the sauna, so people wouldn't know he was crying. They would just, nobody sees your tears in the shower.
It's a sauna.
I know, but you're sweating in the sauna. I was just,
Well, you have to shower first to go into the sauna, so it still works,
You're still wet when you get in there.
So this kind of comes to my own kind of theory about kind of art in a way, and perhaps it's a little self-aggrandizing, but it's like I think like with the fig leaf pose and all these other poses and certain kind of things that we see, I think art in a way kind of exploits these, or exploits the wrong word, but kind of use these as an advantage. So you see someone like saying a strong pose, in a heroic pose, like say Superman, right? And evokes these feelings in us of, man, that guy's strong. He's incredible. He's crazy. He's awesome. And I think art uses these kind of internal mechanisms, which we already have, and kind of just uses it to its advantage.
That's yeah, that's so exciting. The best thing that I ever learned while I've been pursuing art is that art is essentially a way to manipulate someone's brain in ways that they don't know. And so a lot of what I learned was balance and flow. And so when I paint a painting, I'm gonna look at it objectively when I'm done, and I want to like, where does my eye go? Okay, what do I want my viewer to see first? And I have to use like certain colors, certain shapes, certain like ways to manipulate the painting so that your eyes go there first, and then they can follow around the rest of the painting. And then I can use colors, and I can use colors are huge. The theory of color is amazing, and the way that we can be manipulated, and way that we perceive color and our brain reacts to color, I can use that to invoke an emotion in somebody. So art itself can be this amazing expression, but it can also be this tool to communicate an idea to somebody in a way that they've never seen before, or a way that they've never thought of before, giving them a different perspective.
Right. That's interesting. Like, do you use that kind of? Do you use those tools like consciously? Or are you like thinking about that while you make a piece?
I find if I want to think about it like consciously, then it becomes more mechanical to me, the whole piece, and then part of it loses its heart to me. But my favorite is when I can start the painting and then finish it and then like look at it after and realize I created that without even trying.
It kind of becomes ingrained in yourself, or maybe part of it is you're naturally gifted with this kind of stuff, so it's easy for you just to kind of disperceive. It reminds me of I think it was MC Escher, the guy who had the stair paintings and all those kind of crazy paintings. I guess some mathematicians looked at his work and they said, "This is crazy mathematical. You have all these mathematical shapes in here and all this blah blah blah." And I guess he's kind of like, really, I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's so cool to know what like we're capable of without even understanding it, and just subconsciously we can convey that.
It kind of reminds me, Steve, you do a lot of rap songs, and we actually have produced a few songs together. And you're talking about how you produce your lyrics. Your lyrics are very good, I think. And you say you don't even really think about the song or the meaning really until like after the fact.
A lot of times, yeah. Like if I it, recently, I've been starting to write to a beat a lot more. I started out writing actually like closer to poetry and things like that. Um, but I always like to write to a rhythm, and a lot of that ends up with rhyme. When you have rhythm, it just rhyme kind of comes naturally to me, and then that kind of ended up turning into always being on a beat. And if I'm on a beat, then I can enhance the what I'm writing by actually having music in the background. So that kind of turned into rap. And though I probably don't portray the stereotypical rap type of persona, it's just what comes naturally to me for art. It's the only type of art that I can actually pull off in any capacity and will actually end up being proud of. I can't draw, I can't paint. Like working with my hands is an awful task. Despite the fact that I was a carpenter for so long. So, but working with my mind, I'm able to manipulate things. So to get to your point, a lot of times I'll start out writing something and I'll just be going with the flow of whatever's coming out of my head and whatever makes the most sense to artistically hit timing and hit rhymes and things like that. And then I'll see a piece start to form. And once something starts to form, then I can get behind it and say, okay, well, where's this going? I can try to look into the future and then help drive along the way. And then, once it's done, go back, refine. Where did I miss? Where does it not work? What can I do to fix it? And then just keep fixing it and fixing it, um, which is dangerous because you can get into the loop of just never finishing something if you want to keep going back and making it perfect.
Mm, that's interesting. So I remember that when we were recording Spitfire, towards the end, I was kind of saying, I kind of like the end here because it's like a very interesting kind of little part. I don't remember it quite exactly, but it's like C is the Sync King, and you have a lot of S's there, like this over and over again, and it's alliteration, very good alliteration. And when I pointed out that to you, you said, "Oh, I didn't even know that was there. That's interesting." So it's something you're doing kind of unconsciously, but not even kind of like aware of it.
No, I that does happen quite often, and that's one of the beautiful things about art is sometimes you can create like exactly like Chelsea was saying. Sometimes you can create something, but you're so battle blind when you're actually creating that when you finally come out of it, it like it's a trance or something. But sometimes it feels like that when you finally come out and you look at the final piece, you're like, wow, there's all these parts that I didn't even recognize that I was using these tools that I didn't necessarily even know I had. I wasn't actively trying to do that.
Well, you used a great word there, which was the flow. And that's something I read a lot about recently. And a lot of people will like battle, to use your word, to get to that, to get to the flow. And I think some people it comes more naturally than the others.
Just to clarify, this is a different kind of flow than what you were talking before,
Um,
or is this a similar kind of flow,
it's a kind of like a workflow. Like,
like a psychological flow?
You're
ki-
talking about like the flow of the art coming out of you, not like the flow of how a rap
no,
flows.
yeah, sorry,
Okay.
different kind of flow. Um, more like a term that, like, if you're, let's say you're a line cook and you get to a point where everything is so rhythmic and easy to do for you that it's something else. And it almost comes like a beat and music to you because it just keeps happening and happening and happening. You don't even have to think about it.
Mm,
And that's like a kind of like a trance. And I feel like when you're
right.
writing, Steve, that you get into that.
Yeah, the hardest part I find is when I get into a really good flow and it just starts to get backed up and I can't get it out as fast as it's coming and I feel like I'm missing little pieces and then it ends up like getting me dejected over time and it just wears me out to try and spit it out like write it out as fast as it's coming to me.
Mm-hmm. And you feel like you're not doing it justice by
Exactly.
losing bits, like trying to retell a dream but missing the most important parts of it.
Exactly.
Dreams are fucked up though. So is there any like, if it's the part of a dream, it probably makes sense anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of dreams, like, Do you believe in this whole thing about follow your dreams, like with art?
Say that again.
Do you
So,
believe in
yeah,
following your dreams
Following
and
your like the metaphorical dream.
yeah, yeah, metaphorical dream,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Actually, I think we were talking about that earlier with Steve, or I was. If you mean follow your dreams, like there's one big picture thing that you have the idea of, like, this is what I want to do with my life, and this is my dream. And I think that dreams can change over time if you're in general, with an aspect of what you want to do with your life. Um, and having a very specific idea is good, but I don't know if it's always great to be so hard stuck on that idea to the point that you're missing all the other opportunities to grow.
So you probably wouldn't say you follow your dreams, or are you like more just kind of like,
I would say that I follow intuition and I follow my passions. Don't necessarily, I don't have a big dream of like one day I want to be the co-director of this and so animated film. Um, I don't, that's not something that I have personally, but I think that changes for everybody. I think like some people work really well on having a very specific goal or dream in mind.
it's kind of like ends versus means in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like like to segue a little bit. So a big goal with this is for me, like I don't my
this being the
yeah.
podcast?
So yeah, big idea with this podcast is it's more of a method of doing something, something I like doing. I like the process of it. I have no real end goal with the podcast, and I hope what we're creating is kind of artistic in a lot of different ways. But there being a goal of like achieving X and Y and Z with that's really hard for me to perceive and kind of see and everything. But I'm gonna get really, really vague now, and I think you guys should too, because we should talk about dreams. Not even like concrete, just metaphorical dreams you have in your sleep.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
That's super abstract.
I
Yeah.
have some really good things to say about that. I think that what I have to say about this is going to absolutely blow your mind. I'm going to pitch this in a way that you've never even thought about it before.
Sounds very confident, Steve.
Next time,
Dreams.
we need to talk.
So Chelsea, you're quite into art and stuff, and I heard you actually have a website where you show off some of your work.
I do. This is actually a new step in becoming an artist and doing these things. So you can find me on www.letthebirdflyagain.wix.com.
Oh, Wix, that's a great site. They should really promote us. But I've actually been on the site. Like, it's awesome. You have so much awesome work up there. And if anybody likes this podcast, has any interest in art at all, you should definitely, at very least, go to the website, check it out. And if you like what you see, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, there's a contact section on the website. Essentially, this is going to be a blog and a point for me to sell my photography and my artwork that I'll be doing as I'm going through college. So it'll be a commentary on what's happening in my life and what my take on the work that I'm doing, because I want every work to have a purpose and a meaning behind it. So there'll be a lot of commentary in there. You can have all my contact information on the website. And then you can also follow me on Instagram at Let the Bird Fly.
So not only they're getting high quality up and coming work from an artist who's starting out her career and actually not even starting out at this point, but really progressing it quite far. But they're also supporting you in your higher education goals as well as, being able to meet your basic needs as a human being.
Exactly. Helping you guys can personally help me get through college.
That's absolutely amazing. And you know what? If you were ever going to support anybody, fuck your child. Like, you should just take a look at Chelsea's stuff because it's actually really good.
Thank you.
So if you're driving and you didn't quite catch that and you want to check it out, it'll be right in the description. Just click on it and it'll go right to the site.
Right to the site. There's nothing better than being able to click on something and it takes you right where you wanted to be, and then you can spend money.
And then you can let me know that you heard about me through these guys on We Need to Talk.
Wow, that was awesome. You promoted us back.
Yeah, I did.